My wife of 20 plus years recently died. I knew she had kept the secret from before we met, but I didn't expect this. My wife passed away recently. It is torture and it was a relief when she passed. She was always sick with something. What took her was a sudden heart attack. It may have been coming for some time, but we passed off the symptoms as related to other issues she had. All I can say about it is that it was quick and she is no longer in pain. I met her at a conference when we were both in our early 20s. We lived in different states, and after a few months of phone conversations she came to visit me for a long romantic weekend. While she was out here she got a call from her sister that said essentially, if you come home, don't come home. So she flew home, packed her stuff, and moved in with me. I have never met her family. I talked to her mom once briefly when I called her before that fateful weekend, and answered the phone when her sister called at the end of the weekend. We married a few years later and struggled financially the entire time. Her various illnesses caused her to lose jobs, and my time away from work to assist her during her various illnesses severely impacted my career. I loved her, but she was very much a burden. I would have probably left her years ago, but the fact that she was estranged from her entire family made it feel like she had no one else but me. If I left her, she would be all alone in this world. She wasn't a lonely shut-in. She picked up friends easily, and her social life far eclipsed my own. We were never able to have children and were never financially stable enough to medically see why, get IVF, or adopt. For all of these issues, I still loved her dearly. We were never unfaithful to each other. I suspected there was something about her family that she was keeping from me, but any time I tried to raise the issue with her, she shut me down about it, asking me to not bring it up. Upon her death, I felt obligated to tell her family. I had no way to contact them. I know both of her parents had died. I knew enough that I found the obituaries before her death, but both deaths were years after she told me it happened. I encouraged her to try to reconnect with her family, but she was vehement that they were toxic, conniving, and manipulative people that could not be trusted. A friend of mine offered to help contact them using the info in her parents' obituaries. She found my wife's family and told them the news. They talked to her and dropped a bombshell on her. My wife had a son. He is in his late 20s, so he was probably a toddler when I met her. She never mentioned him to me the entire time we were together. All I know is a name and that he was raised by her parents. I am talking to one of her sisters tomorrow morning to find out all of the details. I am torn because this is clearly a chapter of her life she never wanted me to know for whatever reason. It also doesn't seem like something a woman so loving and generous of her time with other people and children would do. Perhaps there are circumstances around the child's birth that were why she walked away. I may never know why she did this, but I am conflicted about how I feel about it. I will also take what is said by her family with a grain of salt in case they are as awful as she always made them out to be. I'm mourning the death of my life partner and have found out she was not the person I thought she was. Update: I got off the phone with my wife's sister and found out a lot about her family. It was a shit show. Generations of at least verbal, mental, and physical abuse by parents and grandparents going back probably for at least a century. Add to that mental illness including bipolar disorder, multiple personality disorder, and paranoid schizophrenia. It was definitely a good thing that she got out. What about the son? He does not know yet. He hasn't spoken to the sister in years. Family shit show, but she can contact him. The sister has some medical issues she is dealing with, including surgery scheduled for right around the same time as the memorial, and will tell him once she is better in about a month. We shall see. She never told anyone who the father was. She had him at 19. She got pregnant her freshman year of college. She had mentioned to me that she had gotten R her freshman year. They were both drunk and started making out. She wanted to stop and he continued. She apparently reported the R to the school and it was determined to be consensual. I don't know if the R is what produced the baby, if it had nothing to do with this, or if she decided it was R after the fact to cope with the unwanted pregnancy. I know not believing a woman who claims R is trashy. This was 25 to 30 years ago. So yes, there is a distinct possibility that he is a R baby. The family is very religious, so abortion was probably off the table. We had a pregnancy scare early on, and while my wife was fiercely pro-choice, she said she would never have an abortion. An adoption was arranged, but my wife backed out at the last minute. My wife apparently left him with her parents somewhere between the ages of 1 and 3. I heard one story from the sister, but from what I know of her history, the child would have been a little more than 2 years old when I met her. She was living with her parents when I first met her and going to college nearby, so the kid had to have been in the house with her. When he was 5, his grandparents officially adopted him. They tried to reach out to my wife and she would hang up on them. A certified letter came back undelivered. It apparently took a year for the process to complete because of my wife's non-cooperation. We were probably married by this time, but I was clueless. The son was told she abandoned him when he was 14. I don't know what he was told before that. He did not take it well. Bouts of homelessness and drug abuse ensued, see aforementioned family shitshow. The son wanted to know about his parents about 4 to 5 years ago. The sister reached out via phone and Facebook Messenger. My wife hung up on them and blocked them. He was done at that point and wanted nothing further from his mother. He has reportedly been clean, has a job, and has been in a stable relationship for several years now. I have no intention of reaching out to the son, but I told the sister that if he wants to talk to me, I will speak with him. I will tell him what I know of her life with me. I knew none of this. She didn't accidentally slip up around me. She didn't do some quirky thing on his birthday every year, nothing. The best I can do is treasure our time together. Even though it was over 20 years, I would do almost anything to have her back just to tell her how much I loved her. The memorial service is in a few weeks, so there is a possibility that some family of hers may show up, but I don't know. If there are any further updates, it will be if I talk to the son, or it won't be until after the memorial. My ex-wife's affair partner she ended our marriage for 15 years ago died suddenly this morning. For what it's worth, as we co-parent a daughter we had mostly repaired our relationship insofar as getting along fine and working together. I had left the past in the past and have treated her with nothing but respect to her face and in front of our daughter. But during that 15-year span I had spoken maybe 2 sentences to the guy and had just one in-person interaction with him because I despised him due to past events. I had fantasized in the past about beating the shit out of him in the event we actually were in close proximity, at least for the first few years. But generally, I didn't pay attention to anything they had going on. I was content to live. He had a daughter with my ex-wife, my daughter's half-sister, and I've tried to be friendly toward her and treat her with kindness despite the situation that led to her existence. If you had told me this was where the entire story ended 15 years ago, I may have viewed it as karmic justice. After getting the news today though, I realized I just felt horrible for my ex-wife and for his daughter who now has to grow up without a father. Despite my feelings, I never would have wished this on him, nor the fallout that is now going to be experienced by my ex-wife. I told her that if she needed my help with anything to let me know. I told my daughter to give her mom a hug and her sister a hug if they need one. Feelings are complicated and not altogether as black and white as you may imagine they will be given such a raw situation. My life was turned upside down 15 years ago due to the actions of this man and my ex-wife. Now 15 years later he is dead and my ex-wife's life is turning upside down, and I feel sad for her and her other daughter. It is a surreal feeling to be in a position where you feel the need to comfort the person who cheated on you because the person she cheated with died. I don't know what I need posting here, but I surprised myself today by my own feelings and reaction toward this situation. Edit, I went to sleep after posting this. Thank you for all the kind and unkind comments. I will take the time to respond where I can, but as there are so many I wanted to address a couple of things. There is no chance I will be rebounding with my ex. I have a partner, relationship of my own. I spoke to my partner about these feelings as well and she feels sorry for the same reasons, but she has more anger toward my ex than I do. I don't have any romantic feelings toward my ex at all, so my feelings for her aren't based on that, but just on sharing a daughter. I do still maintain a friendly relationship with my ex-mother-in-law because I'm often picking my daughter up for karate classes, and it is the mother-in-law who reached out to me first about this situation. I have dinner with them sometimes, and for the sake of my daughter, I've done my best to keep a nice, cordial relationship with my ex. But there is and has been a line and I'm not flirty or anything with my ex. As far as why I hold the affair partner more at fault than my ex-wife, he took advantage a couple of months after my father-in-law had passed away of her being upset. I was taking night classes at the time, so while I was at school he was coming over to my house and made a move. I gave her a little bit of understanding because she was dealing with a lot of grief at the time. So whether I'm right or wrong about that, and it isn't an excuse, I do understand if the reason she cheated was because of what else was going on in her life.